your beauty outshines every star in the firmament.
The bells of St. Aldwyn's chapel rang across the cold morning air. Their sound rolled over the countryside like a slow sigh. Inside the chapel, hundreds of candles glowed softly, filling every corner with warm gold. Nobles sat in long wooden pews. Ladies wore pearl necklaces. Gentlemen whispered behind gloved hands. The scent of beeswax and old stone filled the room. At the front, near the altar, stood Lady Evelina Harrow. She wore an ivory gown. Her veil trembled with every small breath she took. Her hands were tightly held together in front of her waist. Her heart beat loud enough that she thought others might hear it. She told herself to be calm. She told herself to smile. She told herself to trust that her soon-to-be husband, Viscount Edmund Grayson, would walk through the chapel doors at any moment. But the guests were whispering, "Where is the Viscount? He should have arrived. Has he changed his mind? Poor girl." She looked so frightened. Evelina tried to keep her eyes down, tried to breathe quietly. She had been shy her whole life. Gentle, soft-spoken. She never wanted attention, yet now every eye stared at her. "Please come, Edmund. Please do not shame me." The great doors of the chapel suddenly opened. Everyone turned. Edmund walked in, but not with urgency, not with love, not with respect. He strolled in slowly, with a careless expression on his face. His coat was slightly open. His cravat was untied. His hair looked as if he had not bothered to fix it. Behind him walked two of his friends, laughing under their breath, as if they had just come from a tavern. Evelina felt her chest tighten. Edmund stopped halfway down the aisle. Then he smirked. "Let us end this little show," he said loudly. Soft gasps filled the chapel. Evelina blinked. She did not understand. Edmund looked around at the crowd, then shrugged lazily. "Did any of you truly believe I would marry her?" His friends burst into laughter. Evelina froze. Her throat closed. Her breath failed her. People whispered, "He is mocking her. It was a trick all along, a cruel joke. He courted her only to win a wager. How pitiful she must feel." A woman laughed behind her gloved hand. A gentleman shook his head with amusement. Others stared with wide eyes, shocked but entertained. Evelina felt her knees weaken. Her heart cracked. She gripped the altar rail to keep from falling. Edmund turned back to her, his voice sharp and cruel. "You are foolish, Evelina. You believed I wanted you. This wedding was never real. I simply wished to prove you could be led anywhere with a little kindness." The chapel filled with cold laughter. Evelina felt tears gather. She tried to swallow them. She tried to hide them. But one tear escaped and slid down her cheek. She whispered, so quietly only she could hear, "I must leave. I cannot stand here any longer." She took one trembling step backward. Then, a deep voice spoke from the back of the chapel. "Stop." The whole room fell silent. A tall figure stood at the doorway. Snow behind him cast a soft glow along his shoulders. His coat was dark and beautifully tailored. His posture strong, straight, impossible to ignore. It was Adrian Hawthorne, the Duke of Wynthorne, a man whispered about in every drawing room, a man feared for his power, admired for his honor, and known for never involving himself in social affairs. Yet, here he was, walking toward Evelina, slowly, calmly, with steady steps that echoed across the stone floor. Everyone bowed their heads as he passed. Some whispered his title with awe, "Your Grace." "The Duke. He never attends weddings. Why is he here?" When he reached the altar, he looked at Edmund, just one look, and the Viscount fell silent, his confidence shattered. Then the Duke turned to Evelina, and for the first time that morning, someone looked at her with kindness. He lowered his voice, speaking only to her. "Lady Evelina," he said gently, "you will not walk away from this altar alone." Her lips parted. She could not speak. He extended his hand. "I choose her." The entire chapel gasped so loudly the candles flickered. Evelina stared at him, stunned. "You? Choose me?" she whispered. "I do," he replied softly. "No woman deserves to be humiliated. Not you." Her eyes filled with tears she could no longer hold back. Slowly shaking, she placed her hand in his. It fit perfectly inside his warm glove. The Duke turned toward the audience, voice strong like thunder. "Remember this moment well. If anyone wishes to mock her, they will answer to me." Silence. No one breathed. He stepped beside Evelina, guiding her with gentle dignity. They walked down the aisle together, past the shocked guests, past the cruel whispers, past Edmund's furious glare. When they reached the doors, he leaned close, his voice soft as winter snow. "You deserved someone who would show up." Evelina closed her eyes. For the first time that day, her heart felt a small spark of safety. The carriage awaited outside. He helped her inside with great care, and the doors closed behind them. The old life she had known was gone. A new one had just begun. The carriage rocked gently as it moved through the snowy forest. Evelina sat across from the Duke, her hands trembling in her lap. Her veil still clung to her hair, though the wedding had never truly happened. Adrian watched her silently, not with pity, not with judgment, but with a quiet concern she had never seen before. "Your hands are shaking," he said softly. "I apologize," she whispered. "There is nothing to apologize for," he replied. The carriage wheels rolled over frost. The horses exhaled soft clouds of white mist. Inside, only the dim glow of a lantern lit the Duke's calm face. "I know you are afraid," Adrian murmured. "Anyone would be. But I give you my word you are safe with me." Evelina swallowed. "Why did you do it, Your Grace? You barely know me." He looked out the carriage window for a moment. "When my first wife passed," he said quietly, "I saw how society treated women who became vulnerable. One small crack, and they strike like wolves. I will never allow that cruelty to fall upon someone again." She lowered her eyes. "Edmund humiliated you before the entire ton," Adrian continued. "Someone had to stand between you and their cruelty." "But why you?" Evelina asked. Surely someone else could have helped." He turned his gaze to her. "There is no one else who would have done it." Her breath caught. The Duke's voice softened. "I came when I heard whispers of Edmund's wager. I hoped I would be wrong. I was not." Evelina felt shame burn through her chest. "So it was true. It was never your fault," he said gently. "His heart is small. Yours is not." The carriage grew quiet once more. When they reached Wynthorne Manor, a grand estate with tall snowy towers and warm golden lights shining from the windows, the Duke stepped out first. He held out his hand. "Milady." Evelina hesitated, then took it. Snowflakes drifted around them as he guided her inside the entrance hall. Warmth washed over her instantly, the crackling fireplace, the golden chandeliers, the polished floors that shimmered like soft mirrors. The Duke's voice echoed gently. "You may stay as long as you wish. 1 night or more, whatever brings your heart peace." Evelina nodded in silence. He studied her face, as though making sure she was not breaking. Then he said softly, "If you wish to return home tomorrow, I will arrange everything. No one will trouble you. No one will dare." She felt tears gather again, but this time they were different. Softer, warm. "Thank you, Your Grace," she whispered. He gave a slight bow of his head. "Rest well, Lady Evelina," and he stepped away into the quiet of the manor. Evelina stayed longer than she planned. 1 night became 2. 2 nights became a week. Snow kept falling, and the Duke kept offering gentle presents, never pressure. Every morning, a maid brought her warm tea with honey. Every evening, the Duke joined her for quiet dinners, speaking softly, always giving her space. He never rushed her healing. He never asked for gratitude. He simply made sure she did not face her pain alone. One afternoon she walked into the library. The room was huge, lined with tall shelves filled with books. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, painting the floor with golden warmth. The Duke was there. He stood near the window, reading a letter, his expression thoughtful. When he saw her enter, he straightened quietly. "Lady Evelina," he said softly. "Forgive me. I did not hear you come in." She curtsied slightly. "No forgiveness needed, Your Grace. This is your home." He closed the letter slowly. "You may consider it yours as well, should you choose." Her heart stirred. There were moments when she caught him watching her, never in a way that made her uncomfortable. Instead, he looked as though he was memorizing her strength, her quietness, her way of healing. One evening, as snow drifted outside, they sat near the fireplace. The room glowed with warm amber light. She watched the flames dance, lost in thought. Suddenly she felt his eyes on her. "You are thinking deeply," he murmured. "About everything," she admitted. "And nothing." He nodded slowly. "I understand." "Do you?" she asked softly. He looked into the fire, his voice barely audible. "Yes? More than you know." She hesitated for a long moment. "What happened to your wife?" she whispered. The Duke's jaw tightened. He breathed deeply before answering. "She was kind," he said softly. "Gentle, much like you, but her heart was fragile. The expectations placed upon her, they were too heavy. I failed to protect her from society's cruelty." Evelina's heart ached. "I am sorry." He shook his head. "Do not pity me, milady. I tell you only because I wish you to understand something." She looked at him. He met her eyes. "I will not fail again." Her breath caught. His meaning, his intention, his quiet devotion, they touched her deeper than she had ever expected. Their slow-burn connection grew stronger each day. A shared glance, a quiet smile, a gentle question, a soft laugh she did not know she still had in her. He saw her pain. He saw her strength. He saw her heart. And slowly, she began to see his. But peace never lasts long in the world of nobles. Word spread that Evelina was staying at the Duke's estate. Rumors grew like wild vines. Jealous women whispered behind fans. Men questioned her motives. Servants repeated gossip they overheard in town. Then Edmund returned. He arrived at Wynthorne Manor in a fury, boots slamming against the snow, shouting at the gates. "Open this instant. I demand to see Lady Evelina." The Duke walked out to face him, calm, silent, dangerous. Edmund pointed accusingly. "You stole her from me." Adrian's voice was low and cold. "You discarded her. You mocked her. You made her a wager." Edmund scoffed. "She is nothing. Just a timid girl." The Duke stepped forward, eyes burning with quiet fire. "You will not speak of her with such disrespect. Not in my presence. Not ever again." Edmund faltered. "You cannot keep her here," he said desperately. "People will talk. Let them." The Duke replied. "Their words hold no power over truth." Edmund glared at Evelina, who had stepped into the doorway behind Adrian. "You believe he wants you?" Edmund spat. "He pities you. That is all." The words stabbed her. Her breath trembled. The Duke turned sharply. Enough. But the damage was done. Later that night, Evelina sat alone in her room, holding her cloak in her hands. She could not harm the Duke's reputation. She could not bring him pain. She could not let the world say she trapped him. So she packed her small bag, and she tried to leave quietly. But at the bottom of the staircase, she found him waiting. His voice was soft, but firm. "Where do you intend to go, Evelina?" She froze. "I must leave," she whispered. "I do not belong here, Your Grace." He walked toward her slowly, carefully, as if approaching something fragile. "Who made you believe that?" he asked. "Everyone," she whispered. "But not I," he said. "Never I." Her eyes filled. "You defended me," she said, "but I cannot burden you. They say I am trouble. They say I am nothing." His expression broke pain, frustration, tenderness all at once. "Listen to me," he said quietly. "You are not trouble. You are not nothing." He stepped closer. "You are the only light this house has felt in years." Her breath trembled. "You think I pity you?" he whispered. "No, Evelina. I cherish you." Her tears fell freely. He lifted a hand and wiped a tear from her cheek with his thumb. "Stay," he murmured. "Not because you owe me anything, but because leaving would break something inside me." The small bag slipped from her hand. He exhaled softly, relief filling his eyes. "Good," he whispered. "Do not run from the place where you are treasured." The Duke decided to host a grand winter ball. Snow fell softly outside. Candles glowed everywhere. The ballroom shined like a dream. Everyone came. Every noble, every jealous lady, every gossiping tongue. And at the center of the ballroom stood Evelina. She wore a deep blue gown. Her hair was arranged with small pearls. Her heart beat fast, but she stood tall. The whispers began as soon as she entered. She trapped the Duke. He will see her true colors. This will not last. The Duke heard every whisper, and he stepped forward. He walked to the center of the ballroom, his boots echoing on the polished floor. "May I have your attention?" he said calmly. Instant silence. He looked at Evelina with a softness that made the whole room watch. "She was left at the altar by a coward," he said, "but she rose with dignity." Evelina felt tears gather. He continued, "You all know the cruelty that was shown to her. But none of you know her strength, her kindness, her courage." He stepped closer. "I will not allow another word to be spoken against her." The room murmured in shock. Then he spoke the words that changed her life forever. "I choose her. Today, tomorrow, and every day after." Tears spilled down Evelina's cheeks. "And if any soul wishes to question her worth," he said, voice firm, "they must question mine as well, for I know no woman more deserving of honor." The ballroom erupted in applause. The music swelled softly. Evelina gasped when the Duke approached her, taking her hand gently. He whispered, "May I have this dance, milady?" She nodded through tears. He led her into a slow waltz, guiding her with steady, gentle movements. His hand rested lightly at her waist. Her hand rested in his. Their eyes stayed locked on each other. The world around them faded. No whisper mattered. No rumor mattered. No scar, his or hers, mattered. Only this moment. Only him. Only her. That night, he walked her to the snow-covered garden behind the ballroom. The moon shone gently on the white roses. He took her hands in his. "Evelina," he whispered, "I once believed my heart was too wounded to love again. But you—" He paused, breath soft in the cold air. "You brought life back into a place I thought would remain empty. Forever." A tear slid down her cheek. "And you," she whispered, "picked up the broken pieces of me, without ever asking why I shattered." He lifted her hand to his lips. "Will you allow me to stand beside you? Not for a moment, not for a season, but for as long as this heart beats," she whispered, voice shaking. "Yes, Your Grace. Yes." He closed his eyes in relief. Snow drifted softly around them as he wrapped her in a warm embrace. "You will never be alone again," he whispered into her hair. And she believed him, because for the first time in her life, she felt chosen, treasured, protected, safe, loved. The winter wind softened. The stars glowed brighter, and their story born from humiliation and healed with devotion became a gentle, eternal promise. A promise whispered in the snow. A promise sealed with love. A promise meant to last forever.